You're listening to Edging the Truth.
Welcome to another episode of Two Steps from the Edge, presented by Edging the Truth. Today we have episode 7. My name's Dave. I'm joined by Fudge today, Andy. The two of us have both picked, as it turns out, some alien UFO related topics to discuss. Maybe it's time we do a big episode about UFOs and aliens again. Again, here on Two Steps from the Edge, we try to pick something in the news, something that we stumbled across. It may not be current or not, but I think both of these are fairly in the current zeitgeist of what's going on. Fudge, you got a documentary for us that is new and about an old event, but it's kind of in the news now because it's a new documentary.
Yeah, man. So we just finished watching this. It was a lot of it in Portuguese, so it was a lot of reading. But it was really cool. It would you and I both said there was some very compelling aspects of this documentary where it's talking to normal people, talking about their experiences and seeing how emotional some of them got and the way they reacted. Like it's hard for normal people just to fake that.
Yes.
So James Fox, he is a documentarian and a director. He's made several documentaries in this conspiracy theory, I guess, space theme around various topics. This time looking at an event that happened in 1996, April 20th, I think, 1996 in Varginha, Brazil, not Virginia, Varginha. Where, it is alleged that three sisters, I believe 14, 16, and 21, were walking down like an alleyway, and they looked to their right, and they actually went to the spot where it was and showed like how close. And yeah, I remember you commented on it, Red. I commented on it. We were like, that's really fucking close. It was like two arms lengths away.
Yeah,
she
less
looks
than 8
over
feet.
and and there's an alien or a creature sitting there, crouched over. They said they could sense that it was in distress. It was in fear of its life. It was scared, just as scared as they were. They described it as being, short, hunched over, like gray, large head, bumps all around the head, and these just huge red eyes. Normal mouth. They said the eyes were like 3 times the size of like what a human's eyes would be. They lock eyes. 2 of them run away, and I think the oldest one stands there because she said she was like frozen. She couldn't move. So I think one of the sisters came back and got her. They run and they go tell their mom about everything that's happened. The mom goes back with one of the sisters and she sees one of the footprints. But the creature is no longer there. But they both just described this just awful smell. Supposedly, like the sister says ammonia, the mom said no, it's sulfur. So anyway, like a rotten egg smell, right? And they go back home, and this story just kind of blows up. So it turns out that the local fire department in town, had caught one of these creatures early in the morning. And now this second one was on the loose and actually ended up getting caught by military police. A military police officer like grabbed this thing with his bare hands and threw him in the back of the car. And I believe it was taken to a hospital. Is that right?
There's like, that's the crazy thing about this story is that it's very detailed about exactly, at least the way it's portrayed in the documentary, the series of events, the bodies being found. I know first off the crash, we hear about the crash itself. Then we hear about the 2 different creatures in the town. Then we hear about the creatures being taken to various hospitals, a regular hospital, a military hospital, et cetera, et cetera. Before then, finally, the bodies all go to the military, and then apparently the Americans swoop in and take it away, and that's the end of it.
Right.
It's a weird story. And there's a lot of details, a lot of corroborating evidence about the story. Now, whether they were aliens or not and all that business, obviously we don't have a lot of truth and facts. And of course, the one guy who seemingly has some answers, the general or whatever he was, is
So
holed
yeah,
up in his house and doesn't want to talk to anybody and is like, I'm going to shoot you if you don't get off my property.
so the guy, yeah, right. That was crazy. So the guy that was driving the car with the other military police officer that grabbed the alien and captured it. He is still alive. His last name is like Lopez or something like that.
Yeah.
He hasn't been heard from in 20 plus years, basically since this event happens. In the documentary, they find a way to contact this guy. They find out where they are. They get permission from the mayor to come to this guy's property to try to talk to him. And he doesn't want to do it. So he's just kind of hanging out of his window. And he's like, yeah, I'm not going to answer any questions about the ET. Yeah, if you don't leave, I will remove you with bullets. Like,
that was my favorite way. The way they put it, I will remove you with bullets.
Yeah. So and James Fox is there, like, what's going on? Like, he has no idea. He's like, what is happening? Can I please just ask him one thing? Yeah, what can I please just ask him one thing? So anyway, like, they find this guy, the guy's alive, but he doesn't want to talk. Like, that was like a big theme of the whole thing, was like the hush hush that the government was keeping this, right? They didn't want any information about it to get out. They didn't want anybody to know what it was. And it was interesting, like very early in the documentary, I forget who exactly it was. I think he was a former general in the Brazilian military, said like typically governments like cover things up when they don't have an explanation for their general public. So it was very interesting to see, because they interviewed a military guy. They interviewed the guy that drove the supposed alien dead body around from hospital to hospital and then to the military base. We were talking about that stench earlier. They said they talked to a doctor who gave the alien x-rays. X-rayed like his whole body. The alien was in a body bag. They didn't take it out of the bag. They wouldn't let him really look at it. He didn't get to see any of the pictures. They had him do everything. They said, thanks, have a nice day. Don't say anything, or like,
get out of here.
Keep this quiet. A lot of it was just like very, very fishy. And it made you think like, okay, I think there's really something to this. You know what I'm saying? And then, we didn't even talk about the guy at the beginning at the farm who witnessed the crash, right?
Yes.
But then
who was super overcome with emotion. I mean, the minute he got his bearings and was like, no, I think it's over here. And then he was standing there and he's like, no, this is the spot. And you can see the tears on his face and because he's also somebody who hasn't made a statement about this in 20 some years. And has the common theme is, especially towards the end of the documentary and the wrap up, they revisit all of these witnesses and the witnesses all say, I didn't want to see this. I haven't made any money from this. It hasn't been good for my life. I've just been made fun of because of this. The opportunity to tell their stories was, I think, a relief for a lot of these folks. There was definitely the one military guy who had the camouflage hat, who we saw from behind, spoke with the most sincerity of anybody I've ever heard speak in a documentary about UFOs, from a perspective of I'm just a dude, and this was something that happened in my life, and it means a lot more to other people than it means to me, but it did happen to me, and I'm really glad I get the chance to make a statement and tell my story so that other people can continue this research, so that other people will believe it and continue on. And if nothing else, if you're into UFOs and alien stuff, this video is super compelling in a way that will make you go, well, maybe there's a lot of bullshit out there, but this doesn't feel like that. Now, I will say, I went to the Wikipedia page on the Varginha UFO incident.
Okay.
And it's very interesting to see what how Wikipedia describes this. And what they ended up saying at the end is that an official inquiry in 2010 concluded that the young women, the girls that were the most, famous part of this story, had encountered a homeless, mentally unstable man. They had a nickname for him, Modinho, and he was supposedly dirty and covered in mud because it had been heavy rain and blah, 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 blah. That doesn't jive with anything we heard in this documentary. I'm sorry. And certainly doesn't warrant the military coming into this town. Now, the other parts of this that have been refuted have been that the firefighters and the military personnel and all these things, it was just coincidence that they were all in this area at the same time on the same day at the same,
Yeah, bullshit.
which I also call exactly. There's that's too much.
That's classic government cover up right there, where they just throw shit out there that they know doesn't make sense. We know doesn't make sense. They know that we know it doesn't make sense, but they don't care.
Yes.
This for me, it was super, super compelling. I even think if you're skeptical about aliens, you should watch this documentary. We watched it for free on Crackle. You can rent it some other places. It's called Moment of Contact. James Fox, the director. He actually was just on Rogan talking about it. I watched a 15-minute clip of him describing the doc, and just from watching the doc, it's okay, what these people experienced was very, very real to them, and the way they described it is really makes me want to believe it, just from the things that multiple people all said, specifically the smell, from the mom and the daughter to the doctor that said we had to shut down that section of the hospital for weeks because the lingering smell. We could not serve the general public. It smelled so bad. And they all described it: rotten eggs, sulfuric smell like that. The consistencies of the people talking about the ships looking like discs and saucers and stuff like that.
Lots
and also
of minibus talk.
Yeah. Multiple people said they look like mini school buses. And then, they were talking to random people on the street that live there. Right. And they all seem very open to it. And that you're this is a known thing that's happened around here. The mayor said he believes in it. So I don't know. I totally recommend it. Moment of Contact, James Fox. I originally saw it. Jerry Thornton over at Barstool wrote a blog about it. And I'm like, what is this? I sent it
we'll put
over
the link.
We'll
put the link in the description so you can just click to it here on YouTube. If it's
alien lovers, alien skeptics, I recommend it to watch because it's compelling as shit. Prepare to read if you don't speak Portuguese, but it's worth it.
Definitely worth it. We watched it together this afternoon and had a blast. Had some extra friends come in and join us and watch it, and I think we were all a little surprised. Yeah, I think we were all a little surprised by it because again, I think for me it tied back into the things that I loved about Close Encounters, the fact that these were experiences of very ordinary people. They were experiences of people who are not already predisposed and into UFOs and wanting to see aliens. And that's always, to me, that's always been the linchpin, is that there's a lot of this comes from people who weren't trying to see it, weren't wanting to see it, weren't into it. It just became an event in their lives. Well, we've had a number of other crazy alien related events here in the last few months here in the United States, whether they're weather balloons or potential aliens or who knows what. I recently was fed an article in my news feed that I found to be quite surprising. And the headline reads, "Alien Motherships, Pentagon official floats a theory for unexplained sightings."
We're so fucked.
Now, let's qualify this. This is already a little bit sensational in that it does say it's a Pentagon official, and then the subtitle goes on to say, "One astronomy professor called the notions highly questionable and odd." But we see here that in a paper authored by this gentleman named Sean Kirkpatrick, head of the Pentagon's Anomaly Resolution Office. What the fuck do they do? I want their letterhead. And a Harvard professor, Avi Loeb, teamed up to write that the objects, which appear to defy all physics, could be, quote, probes from an extraterrestrial parent craft. Now, this is an academic paper that, was published, apparently gained notoriety from a post on the Military Times. I just think that it's funny that we still have Pentagon insiders and legitimate government agencies writing about this sort of stuff. I mean, I would think that by now they want to stay as far away from this stuff as possible. But maybe it's a question of the cat's already out of the bag, and so maybe the slow acclimation of the public to this sort of thing is what we're trying to do. I don't know.
Well, it feels like a topic they've been dancing around forever, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh no, there was always some explanation for whatever anybody saw that they came up with, right?
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, I don't know with the recent UFO sightings, where whether like you said, whether it be the weather balloon or just not even recent, but just look at back at all the super compelling ones, especially as technology has gotten better, the cameras have gotten better. Oh, how about the recent statements from the Navy and the Air Force that have like released all of their UFO shit, and the pilots talking about their experiences flying by stuff like that or encountering that during training or whatever it was.
Mhm.
um I don't know, man. I don't know what the government wants to do about this, but it's certainly interesting to have somebody involved at that level, at least writing about that, whether good or bad. I couldn't tell you, but
Yeah.
um I don't know. You'd like to think, because what planets are these? Like, how far are these are the little saucers? Are they built to go that far? Do they need the mothership where they can just kind of go in and out of and refuel and all that shit? It's
Yes.
interesting, but I don't know. I'm not smart enough to figure that out. But
Yeah, I mean, I think again, we're back to theories and these are all I mean, you don't have to have a background in science to come up with a theory about what these things are or where they're coming from. We can read science fiction books and still I mean, whether it's Independence Day or you name the alien invasion, the Transformers Dark Side of the Moon. I mean, this has already all been sussed out in movies and in
here we
fiction.
go,
Uh
blending sci-fi and science again on the show, Red.
well, I try. But it does come back to the thing of like it's interesting to me that there's a point at which you kind of go, well, you heard them say it in the documentary we watched. They kept this covered up because they were afraid that it would break down society, that the population would collapse, that that's an ongoing reason for keeping these things under wraps. I don't think that's a good reason anymore. I feel like we're all acclimated enough to the idea that there's life out beyond our planet that if we were told tomorrow the truth, let's assuming the truth is that we have captured multiple aliens over the last decades, that everybody would go, yeah, big surprise. Thanks for
Yeah,
letting us know the truth finally.
it would
And
not
there
be the
wouldn't be
most
people freak out,
yeah, it wouldn't be the most shocking statement they've ever released, I would say, at this point.
right?
Like,
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked. I would be bummed that I would then expect a giant flood of information.
yeah,
I would expect that
show
you're
me
gonna
what the
now give me
fuck
the
you
whole
found.
truth.
Yeah.
Yeah, give me the whole truth now. Don't give me the little slice of it. Um, which I think is what's so interesting about this topic in general. UFO sightings and there wasn't a lot of alien abduction talk in that documentary, but there was maybe a little bit. It seemed like one person had a close encounter in that story. But I think as we get more and more evidence and people like the gentleman who made this documentary and amateurs who are trying to document stuff for themselves, I know for me, when I open up my YouTube on a regular basis, I get all kinds of shorts of UFO sightings and people on a plane that saw something out the window and held up their cell phone. And at some point, there's going to be explanations, whether they're military or otherworldly. We're going to get an explanation. I hope it's in my lifetime. It'd be nice, but I think the conjecture of it is still more fun than knowing the truth.
Absolutely, because now we just can debate it till the end of time until
Yeah. No one has to be right.
When there's no definitive answer, we're all just idiots yelling at each other, so it doesn't matter.
Well, we would love to hear from you on what you think about UFOs and aliens, and if this Varginha, Brazil, also known as the Brazilian Roswell, if you think it happened, you think there's any credence to this mothership theory? Is there a mothership hiding behind one of our the planets in our solar system sending probes our way? You can reach us a whole bunch of different ways. The best way, and the way we would love to have you reach us, is via our voicemail. You can always call us at 917-979-6071 any hour of the day or night. You will not ever talk to a real person. It goes straight to voicemail. Leave us your story. Leave us your comment. Tell us how stupid we are. You can do anything on that voicemail. And if you'd like to support us and follow us in other ways, you can find us everywhere in social media. We are at Edging the Truth pretty much everywhere. If you would like to support us in any way financially, you can do that at our shop. We have shirts and hats and a variety of other things that you can take home with you. We now have conspiracy theory journals. So if you want to track your own experience with UFOs, you could do that in our own special branded journal. We've got lots of other stuff coming on the pike, but just keep following us. We appreciate it. Make a comment, share it with some people that you know. If you think they would like to hear about this stuff, maybe not hear what we have to say, but hear about the stuff we're talking about so they can go watch documentaries. Share it. Tell somebody you know. How do you say it? Tell someone. Tell a friend who likes it.
Tell a friend who tells a friend.
Thank you.
That's the word of mouth. That's the biggest way for us to grow. It's been another great episode. 2 Steps from the Edge, presented by Edging the Truth. Follow us on all of our social media at Edging the Truth, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. Like this video on YouTube, subscribe, comment. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, leave us 5 stars, leave us a rating, leave us a review. Or I don't know how the other podcast platforms work. Leave us a rating, leave us a review, us, subscribe to us wherever you're consuming our content. If you are consuming the content, we greatly, greatly appreciate it. What's that?
Thumbs up.
Thumbs up. I thought it was a finger going like, hold on 1 second. I gotta fit one more thing in here. But yeah, I think we're good here, right, Red?
Yes. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening to this episode of 2 Steps from the Edge.
Visit edgingthetruth.com for more information and links to all our social media and podcast directories.